like all the
Okay.
roads.
We're gonna go ahead and start.
Hello everyone, we're gonna go ahead and start, and then hopefully
Recording in progress.
the mayor comes in the next few minutes. But we'll go ahead and go down to Scott. Are you okay to start us off?
Wow. We're really cruising.
Yeah.
We're just seeing if you're on your toes.
We're gonna, yeah, the mayor is up
Yeah.
in Salt Lake, so you have to give him a minute to get down here.
Hey Kelly.
Yeah.
Will you just click that OK button up in the corner? Yeah. And then Scott's Creek Steak should be up in the clicker should work.
Right here?
Nope.
Nope.
Is that the only one that's there? I opened them all.
It's mine.
There should be a PowerPoint. Nope. Go back to the folder where they got closed.
You can close out everything else.
Sorry, which one are you?
Keep going.
Project.
CCPW.
Zach is going to high school next year.
Oh, really?
And it's like killing me. Like my baby's going to
Sorry,
high
go
school.
back to
Was he
TV.
River Canyon or 1DU? 1DU.
Okay.
We're in it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Right,
when
so
you
we'll get started on what's happening in Public Works. First, we're going to talk about projects that we haven't already talked about that are completed. One is a signal at 12150 in State Street. I don't know if you've driven there, but
I love
this
it.
is a new signal, and it's a high T intersection. So this was a real safety concern that came up in our traffic committee, working with police and fire. They've responded to some very significant accidents at this intersection. And what we did is with UDOT, we were slated to have a signal at a different location at, I think it was 119 or 100, yeah, 119.50. And there's really not a sight distance issue and not as much traffic at that intersection, so we just kind of moved that signal down to here. And so it worked out pretty good.
Scott, I've heard issues on this with people that are southbound, turning left, whatever, the timing of the signals that's been backing up.
Oh, okay. I'll have them.
So maybe you can have them look at the timing of it.
I haven't heard, that's the first I've heard of any issues, so I'll have them look into that.
By the way, what's a high T intersection? What does that mean?
Okay, so like on 13th East and Highland, we have a high T there. So high T is the through traffic on the T part can free flow. Actually, we have two of them there. So
I see.
yeah,
Okay.
and the other part just functions. So we install a median to separate that traffic so that they can safely keep free flowing. And the people turning left have a lane to turn into. So next time you're down there, just pay attention to that. You'll understand what a high T is.
It's not like stones and crumpets. It's high T. It's high T. Okay.
Yeah.
Finger sandwiches.
This is our zone 4. We're on our 4th year of our 5-year program to repair all the sidewalks in Draper. As you know, earlier last year, we encountered this neighborhood that's one of the sycamores that are shown on the right. But we're still, our contractor will probably kick back up here anytime to get started on that. They're required to finish this project in Zone 4 by the end of June. And then we'll start on Zone 5.
How many zones are there?
5.
Okay.
Yeah. And the idea, hopefully, is when we get through with the 5th zone, then our crews will be able to maintain. There was no way we were going to get up to the point where we were at a maintenance level. So we've been spending, I think we've spent about a couple $1 million so far on repairing sidewalks throughout the city in the first 3.5 years. This is our storm drain detention basin that we are installing at 1700 East, the property that the city purchased. And this is a new system that will be underground instead of above ground. So normally these are too expensive for the city to install these, but the developer is participating with us. So it'll be a good system that will have the capacity to hold. And, this is another ongoing project, Pump Station 3, we had our first shutdown earlier in January, I wanna say. And the next shutdown is scheduled for next week. This will be the bigger shutdown. We'll fill the tanks in Suncrest and we'll send out notices for people to conserve water. But it's not a major thing, we watch it very carefully. But this is actually inside Pump Station 3, and there's these two spots right here, 1 and 2. Those are where new pumps will go. Currently, well, since it was installed, that station's only had 3 pumps, and it's required that we have two additional. So in order for us to meet the state requirements, this is what we're doing. And I still am planning on organizing a tour for you council members. This is a very critical pump station, and the pressures in this station are incredible. It's over 400 PSI, which is kind of scary, honestly. It is what it is. This is our 2026, so now we're getting into the new projects that haven't started yet. 2026 pavement maintenance, it should not say completed, it has not started yet, so. But this is, the areas there are showing where we're planning on. We spend almost $3 million a year on pavement maintenance, and these are surface treatments that we do. Sounds simple enough, we don't rip up asphalt, we're not constructing curb and gutter, but crazy enough, we get probably the most complaints out of this than we do with our other projects, so it's coming. It's fair warning that these areas will get done, and it's really the purpose of these slurry seals and crack seals is really to preserve the pavement so that we don't have to replace it earlier. We want to replace it, we want to do it later and preserve the pavement as long as we can. That's how we do it.
I think the problem is people don't understand, and they think you've left the road really rough, and there's, rubbish everywhere, and little rocks, and
Yeah.
I wonder if we could do some communication with the community and say, heads up, we are doing these slurry seals. The intent is to increase the longevity of the roads. You may notice that the roads have excess asphalt and stones. That's intentional.
We do have information that goes out to those communities, but we'll definitely look. I mean, every year we change it and try to modify it based on what we heard the previous year.
But even if we push it out on the city,
We have done that as well.
I think that helps because they can start complaining about it, but someone will have seen it and
Right.
they'll be like, oh, I think I know what that is.
And we do have different treatments, so if we're doing more extensive treatment, there are loose rocks that
Right.
we don't have on all of the roads that we do. But it's a multi-step process, and we have to wait for those rocks to settle into the oil, so.
Right. It needs to tell people.
I noticed that you're doing it in front of a couple around the schools. Would it be possible to do those in the summer?
Yeah, we definitely, that's correct. We're very cognizant of the school schedules. And.
Is that Port Street in the green that's being redone then?
Yes, part of Port Street. Yeah. Not all of it. Any other questions about this? This is not a final map, but it's pretty close. There is a part of Minuteman that's shown on here that we will not do because the state's going to be coming in 5 years or so, within 5 years with the widening of I-15. It's going to be very expansive into Drapers. It's going to actually take out a lot of the businesses along Minuteman. It's gonna push Minuteman to the east, and they're adding, I think, 3 lanes to I-15. So it'll be a very big project for UDOT, and right now it's slated to start in 2031, but it's probably gonna get moved up. They're starting the acquisition process right now, and my guess is it's gonna be more like 2029. But it's funded and they're moving on it, so. This is a road project that we're trying to get added in for this year during the summer is resurfacing Pioneer. So basically replacing the asphalt. We're not gonna be tearing up the base, just the asphalt. We are gonna be adding some storm drain and sidewalk connections and curb and gutter in a few areas, but it's mostly an asphalt replacement project. Anyone have any questions about that?
When will that start? This year?
We're hoping this year, yeah.
And is that the whole safe walking routes to school? Is this gonna no? When is that one coming?
Which,
On Pioneer? Oh no,
That's
it's
on Fourth
Street.
yeah, you're
I jumped in,
getting on that one.
sorry.
It's coming. So, another project for this year is the 146 Minuteman intersection with Highland. And this is just gonna be adding another left-hand turn lane. So this is the Maverick. This is going northbound. We're gonna add another left turn lane here, so we have dual lefts to hopefully get those trucks through there. It's really bad, and it has been for a while.
That one's been funded with gravel tax funds.
Good.
Started collecting.
So will that be widened? The road
So
be widened in order to accommodate that?
Yes, there will be some widening. Right now, the edge of the asphalt, I think, is about right here, and we're gonna push it out to right there.
Will there be space for people who wanna turn right? Have like a stacking?
Right now, it's combined through, right, and that's what it's gonna be when we're just adding the one lane. So, that's really not the problem. The problem is the left turns, so.
So it's trucks coming out of Geneva.
Yeah.
Trying to get on the highway going
Yeah.
south.
Will there be a dual right and onto the on-ramp, or?
No, because
Or
some of the
north.
trucks go north and some of them go south.
That's true, yeah.
So, it just depends on where the projects are really that they're going to, so. There could be, if more are going north and more are gonna wanna be in that left turn lane.
Or straight to the point too,
Mhm.
Yeah.
maybe.
Right,
Correct.
underneath, yeah.
So we're also, gonna be doing some improvements on 700 West by adding sidewalk, curb and gutter in those sections on the right of the screen. This will complete, sidewalk, so that we'll have sidewalk from 114th to 123rd all along the west side. The reason we're putting curb and gutter in is for 2 reasons. One, the West Crescent Irrigation Company has irrigation pipes on both sides of the road, and they're shallow. And the curb and gutter allows us to put that sidewalk in at a higher elevation. And it also helps with drainage. So this is really not a huge project, but based on the feedback that we've received from the council, it's our understanding that this is what you want to do with the funding that has been appropriated for this 700 West project.
So there will be sidewalk all the way along the road. I think that's great.
There will be sidewalk
Yeah.
on the west side.
On the one side, yeah.
On the
the
one
west
side. And the other side will stay more natural, like some of them want to.
Wherever, there
That's
is
a good
sidewalk on
compromise.
the east side too, but we're not, there's other conflicts and issues with that side, so we picked the west. It's just simpler and less costly, so assuming that this meets the needs, then there would be that funding left over in the project. This is not gonna take all of the funding that's in there, for sure, not by a long shot. Also this year, this is a connection of 134 South. There's just a couple of pavement sections that are missing. We're dividing this up into 2 phases. We're not gonna be addressing the drainage issues with this first phase because it's just more difficult to address this quickly. We actually need a detention basin, a regional detention basin in the area that we need to acquire property for. And first we need to figure out where it needs to go. So we're just gonna add some asphalt to be able to open the road, which we see, and you could disagree, but we see that as kind of an advantage because it's not gonna be as expansive as what our normal project would be. We're just kind of adding some asphalt and allowing traffic to go through.
Quietly opening it.
Yeah.
I did hear from one neighbor, I think I sent her on to you, who was concerned about it being a throughway for high schoolers.
Yeah.
But it's a very minor.
And it's interesting because she doesn't even live on this road, but she's concerned for her neighbors because right now they cut through her neighborhood, which they'll stop doing that and use this road. So, I don't know. I mean, it's nice that people are that concerned
Yes.
about their neighbors, right?
Very invested, yes.
When are you projecting that you'll do this?
This year. So my standard answer for projects is sometime between June and November.
Okay.
There's just a lot of factors that, I mean, we're still in the design of a lot of these, and so.
Well, I'll get a lot of questions about this one.
Yeah.
I knocked a lot of doors on 138th and off of 138th, and I had multiple people say, when are they, tell the city they need to open up 134th.
Yeah.
And that was when, whatever was closed.
When 138th was closed?
It was when, no, I'm thinking 132nd. I was knocking doors on 132nd, the one that the junior high is on. And those people were like, tell them to open up 134th.
Catherine told me you did it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back and be like, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm very powerful.
So from an engineering standpoint and from an emergency response, we've always wanted this connection. It's just that hasn't been a popular thing amongst, we'll say, past council members. So.
Well, it's been, we purchased this property when it
Yes.
an exchange
It
swap.
should be done.
A long
There's no
time
question
ago.
it should be done. But we don't always do what should be done. We mostly do what should be done. Timing's everything. On our sidewalk gap projects this year, this is the first one. We may have another one to add, but right now, so this is Manfield Way. This is just east of the elementary, Draper Elementary. And right now, there is not a sidewalk on that north side of Manfield. I don't know if y'all know where this is at, but, so we're just gonna, we already have the right of way. We're just gonna add sidewalk in there, to make that connection. So pretty simple. This is City Hall. The council approved this budget, I think last council meeting, to expand the parking lot. It also is gonna add some areas over here for roll-offs, that we can access a little bit easier and have that on pavement rather than just the dirt. So this, if you ever try to park here on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it can be very difficult. So this has been talked about for many years, and so we're just finally planning on doing that. Up in Suncrest, we have a detention basin. It's actually over here on the right in that area. That's not functioning very well, and it's causing erosion problems. So we're gonna actually disconnect the pipe that goes into that. And we're gonna just connect this into our storm drain system that we have there, which goes to the regional pond up there in Hidden Canyon Estates area. So that will be a beneficial project to the downstream, especially in the open space corridors and stuff that, so we can eliminate that erosion. That water eventually gets down into Highland, and so they're appreciative of this also. Up in Suncrest, one of our major concerns is our PRVs. PRVs are pressure reducing valves. I talked about that 400 PSI is what we have at the pump station. Well, that would blow our homes up if we had that kind of pressure in our homes. So we have to have these pressure reducing valves, and that's what it looks like schematically, just in case you're curious. And so we have 3 of those on Suncrest right now, and we're going to eliminate one of these and then replace these 2. And a couple of years ago, we had one go out, and luckily there was only one property that was below that, which was the Hunt residence, which is under construction now. But even under an emergency contract, it took us almost a year to design, manufacture, and replace that PRV. So this is a proactive measure that we're taking, because these valves, if they go out, it's just like the PRVs that you probably have in your homes. When they go out, you could get really high pressures or you could get really low pressures, just depending on where that valve gets stuck. So this is definitely needed. Everything up in Suncrest just has high corrosion. If you look at the guardrail, you look at everything up there, even the new stuff that we put in, it corrodes fairly quickly compared to other parts of the city. So this is definitely needed, and it's going to bring a lot of relief to me to know that this is done. So. And then the big project for next year, we're getting into next year now, is Lone Peak Parkway. This is from 12650 to 123rd South. We're taking out that sharp corner, putting in a curve and widening that road. So this is definitely needed. It's been needed for a long time. Very expensive project, especially because of the property acquisitions on this. It's tremendously expensive. I think we're around $12 million now just for that stretch of road, which is ridiculous. That's just crazy. This is a federally funded project. So the city, even though we're going to pay quite a bit, it's nowhere near the $12 million. But
Buy America.
Buy America. And Davis-Bacon, and I mean the list it's extensive. So if this was a city project, we could probably do this for more like around $6 million. That's the kind of difference that making it federally funded. It literally makes that kind of a difference.
So how much of the 12 million will we be paid?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer for that. I think it's around $2 million, but I'm not. I'd have to verify that.
A lot less than the 6 million if we did it ourselves.
And
Well, asphalt's gonna go up.
yes, probably. It depends on how short this little excursion is, but 700 East and 114 South. This is a joint project that we are doing with Sandy City. They've designed it. They've done the environmental. This is another federally funded project. We're going to manage the project. Draper City is. Most of the work is being done on the Draper City side. The purpose of this is to add dual left turns in the east and in the west direction. Sorry.
I never felt there was a need for double turn there.
There is at certain times of the day. It's pretty backed up. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I go down 7th. Yeah, like 5 o'clock and it's backed up.
Yeah.
And in the mornings it's rush hour time.
We're not paying a lot for this. It's not just a huge project. I think our part was like $135,000 or something.
Okay, it's 7th East of it's not 100. I was thinking 114th South.
Yeah, this
It'll
one
be on
14th
7th
South and 7th East.
But it'll be 7th East double turn lanes in
No, double turn lanes on 114th
14th, yeah.
in the east direction and the west direction. So it's gonna expand 114th
Yeah.
in the width. So it'll, and it's mostly expanding to the south. Any questions about that one? That's next year. And another big one for next year, we're saving all our big ones for next year. Is 4th Street from Pioneer to 132nd South. This is another federally funded project, and it's gonna be a big one. There's gonna be, I'm guessing, a lot of discussion amongst residents about this one, probably with you. A lot of people like it, and a lot of people don't like it, so.
We need to move the parade.
We are gonna, for, not this year, but
27.
yeah, 27, this won't be a viable route for the parade. I don't know. We've discussed that it's not gonna be viable, but we don't know what alternatives there are yet.
Well, it depends how fast you get it done, Scott.
This is a federally funded project, did you just have?
Will it not start till August maybe, or it'll be going
By it'll be going by Yeah, unfortunately, these federally funded projects, we don't have near as much control over them as what we do on our own projects. They run like a UDOT project, quite honestly, and it's not to toot my own horn, but they're not as efficient as we are, quite frankly, so.
Shocking.
Yeah, but at least we get these big projects done, and that's huge for the city, so. And that's it. Any questions or comments?
I have a question on that, this storm drain up on 17th East and that property, that, will the ground just be level?
Yeah.
Then, so it's pretty much hidden, you won't
Yeah,
necessarily
you won't
even
see
know
it.
you won't even know it's there.
No, it'll be in the park strip, it's in a big park strip, so.
You can't build over it.
But that did impact where
You
we could
could.
put access out of that neighborhood too, right?
Yeah, and it's out of that, so we worked, in fact, the developer's engineer designed it, so it's fully aware. Any other questions? Alright, thank you.
Right, because
Thank
they
you.
didn't like where the entrance was, but
Yeah,
it was
people
sort of
didn't like
determined
that,
by
yeah.
us, yeah.
People upset that we're not accessing 17th East.
There's gonna be 4th Street people who do not want.
I've heard from
It's funny,
tons
so
of people
many,
who don't.
there's some that want it.
So
and
many
others that-
people, yeah.
Yep, people want it if they have kids and they want safer walking routes, they don't want it if they're like old timers and they want like a country road.
Yeah.
I think once it's in though,
Everyone's gonna love that.
they're gonna love it.
I think so too. Cause it'll be nice, old, like, street light, it'll look nice.
I think it'll look nicer, and I think it's gonna be safer. It's really not very
It's
safe.
not very-
It's not at all.
Lots of people, even when I was talking over there, like, those older people who were like, there's no place to walk, like, I can't walk,
Right.
go on walks.
Cars go
All right, what are we on next? Jump, go, Red.
We're ready.
When you
Get
get a
out
sec,
here.
will you toss this guy behind you?
I'll try and go quick. I know we've got a big agenda. Just to give you an update again on some of the projects Parks and Rec Department's been working on. We are in our slowest quarter of the year. We have had some change, but not a ton, so try and go fairly quick. Just to remind you on, probably the biggest one that we just completed is behind the Parks and Rec building. We built a new storage area and the Trails and Open Space Garage, which has been great. It's gave us a ton more room to store stuff, get all our equipment. We finished the long hanger, 15-foot recycled asphalt in there, so keep all the weeds down. It looks really good. It's been a big help, so that's done. Thank you for your help with that. Ones we've been working on, the biggest one right now is Jensen Farm Phase 3, 1 and 2 are done. If you haven't been out there in a little while, you'll see quite a bit. The whole athletic field, that whole soccer field is shaped and ready to go. It's been winter, so we're limited on things we can do, but it hasn't really been winter. So we've got more than expected, so I think we'll be done with this whole thing probably by May or June, which will be great. The restroom's already in, the shed's already in, getting ready for the retaining wall as soon as we can pour concrete. So this will be a great one finish. The bridge expansion for Porter Rockwell Trail coming along nicely. We hit a little delay. If you remember last time we decided to incorporate the two parcels that UTA wanted us to, the north that goes to Deer Hollow and the south that goes to Banger's Crossing. So they're evaluating that. That's where it's taking a little bit more time. But other than that, we're ready to go, and we should be having the bridge this summer, or a trail across the bridge this summer. Connect that whole thing. If you have any questions, holler. If not, I'm just gonna hurry through. This one's very minor. It's just you see that picture on the right. There's be a trail connection right through there. It was donated by one of the residents to give us an easement. It's funded. We've got the contractor. We met the contractor in February. They said they would start about 3 weeks from our pre-construction meeting, which would be about this week. They haven't started yet, but I'd expect it to be coming anytime, and should be a fairly quick project once they get on it. So should have that done this spring. Phoebe Brown, I know we've had some discussion. I'll just skip over that one. This one we've been working on in-house, and I know some of you had a lot of comments from this in the past about combining these. So this will be a great project to combine Sunrise and Inauguration parks into one nice park, so there's access from both neighborhoods. We got rid of all the junk trees, or Siberian elm, brush and olives. We've flattened that grade a bit, so we're going to be doing some irrigation, putting the sod back in. Lots of money to do a smaller playground piece, but really just make that a nice big park for that west side. This one is one that they should be starting soon. That is greatly needed. Every time we have a rainstorm, I get nervous that bridge is going to fall in. You see the one on the right is what it will look fairly similar to. This will cross the big drainage span that keeps getting wider on the final shoreline trail. It's going to be an interesting feat to get the bridge up there. Pieces to get it built, but they say they can do it. So we're ready to go on that one. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I haven't had a lot of movement, but it's just that little piece that we approved last time to connect Rattle and Hum to Woods Hollow, help that flow, so there's not so much congestion. This one we're excited about. Rick and the guys are going to cut in-house. We've got a lot of social trails up there anyway, so it gets a lot of use. Actually, we met Greg and I with Tracy last week about the Red Rock area and some of the things we need to do with some of the climbing and the handholds. But this new trail will really help the area and get people up to some of the climbing areas. And that will have done this spring. Octoon, we haven't done much, so it's still in the works. And just a few that we've mentioned, but just want to show you real quick. We talked about these. I know Councilman Bean's not here, but he was really hyped to get these done. You'll see these are requested in this future budget funding year in our CIP request. Where Vertigo and Levitate meet, those are both fast downhill bike traffic trails where they meet, and there's a dangerous intersection. So we'll just have a flyover similar to this one that Lehigh did, so that they can both always continuously go without the fear of getting somebody hurt. And then the same thing, this is a different flyover that Lehigh did. The same thing where we have the same issue with two of our popular trails, Maple Hollow and Hands. We'd have to reroute a little bit of Maple Hollow, which is the worst part anyway, if you've never done that trail. And so it'd come out a little bit better, but again, we'd have this flyover, one trail under, one trail over. I'm fairly certain, not guaranteeing, but I'm fairly certain we could get some Utah Outdoor Recreation grants that they would love to fund some of these. So that would cover at least half. So that's our goal, is to apply for those if we decide to fund them. So those will hit your requests. And that's it. Any questions I can help with?
Thanks. Thanks, Brett.
Clint?
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Still, which one's the appropriate mouse? Is it that one? What here? All right, thanks council, we will be brief tonight. I just wanted to give you an update on the progress that was made by our fuels crew over the last season, and really talk about the grant money that's been coming in through that program and how it's being used to enhance the mitigation efforts in the city and what is planned moving forward. So I've got Parker, I was gonna call him Flavio, but he pulled it up, so I can't even call him Flavio tonight. Who's our full-time fuels crew supervisor, who's gonna walk through these few slides for you and then see if you have any questions. So, Parker, just give that a click when you're ready to advance on the next one.
Yeah, so this year, just like last year, we employed 6 seasonal crew members. That's a 7-person crew, including myself. Is it this one?
I'll drive.
Okay. So just to give you an overview of the projects we completed, here's kind of a map. This includes all these little polygons, the orange and the pink. Those are projects we've done over the last 3 years. But I'll kind of point them out as we go through. So Rocky Knoll, that one's actually not on the map, but this was a small project that we did. It took a lot of man hours. But this project, we helped the resident avoid having their insurance dropped in. So there was a wildfire threat next to their home. We addressed it, and that saved them from losing their insurance. Maple Hollow, that's this one here. That's just a project that we finished up from last year. And then the Mike Weir roadside thinning, that was a pretty significant project. If you guys have seen along Mike Weir, we did quite a bit of thinning. And the roadside thinning is a mitigation strategy that's really effective. And I'll show you later on in the presentation how that was proven effective this year. Anyways, the biggest project that we did was this one here, the Mercer Hollow Fuel Break. It's approximately 35 acres, and it's going to serve as a tactical, like a strategical advantage point for preventing wildfire spread if we were to have a wildfire start on the east side of Suncrest. And I'll kind of go through that a little bit more. And then Upper Hog Hollow, that's just up in here. We had some leftover time after completing the Mercer Hollow Fuel Break, and we're able to do some thinning around the homes. So here's a bigger map of that Maple Hollow Fuel Break. You can see there's the yellow sections, most of that yellow, so the yellow and the orange is the fuel break. It extends pretty much from Suncrest Drive, the lower portion of Suncrest Drive, all the way up to the Peak View Trailhead. It's approximately 2 miles long by 120 feet wide. The orange area was done with like chainsaws. It's a little bit steeper down in Hog Hollow. The yellow was completed with our skid steer that has a mulching head on it. But to note, with this fuel break, there's these green kind of access points is what they are, these green indicators. So the fuel break will have 6 different access points where our fire resources, engines, whatnot, will be able to access the fuel break. The majority of the fuel break is drivable, so that's huge. You know, if we were to get a fire anywhere down in here, this fuel break will serve to protect the entire community of Suncrest, as well as the outdoor, like recreational trails that we have. This project was funded, if you want to go back, yeah, I'll just really quick. The project was funded through a grant that we got in last year. It was $120,000. It supported the employment of the crew. And yeah, we were able to burn some piles down in Hog Hollow too. So
I
So
know-
will you, oh,
Go ahead, Fred.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, when there was that really scary fire in Lehigh,
Mhm.
coming up the mountain, part of the problem was we couldn't get to it, right? This is helping with that.
100%. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the plan. My big picture is to put in these fuel breaks, improve access and egress for firefighting resources. Here's some pictures. So this is kind of the beginning phases of the project. And then middle phase, of course, burning out those piles. Kind of the end result. And then, yeah.
So Parker, will you continue to like mow that down to keep that
Yep.
trimmed up, which will be a lot pretty easy to maintain, right?
Exactly. That's the advantage with these fuel breaks. They're super advantageous for stopping fire and they're easy to maintain. So very effective. So part of every year we have a participation commitment that we have to meet with the state. It's part of our cooperative agreement. Pretty much that means we agree to do mitigation work, prevention work, or preparedness work and expend an X amount of dollars. And then the state will help us cover the cost of any significant wildfires in our city if we delegate those to them. So for example, the Suncrest fire, that was one of those incidents. The state covered the cost of that fire because we have this agreement. So for this last year, our agreement was $55,000. We exceeded that commitment by $37,000. Really, we exceeded it by a lot more. But since we had that $120,000 of grant funding, that couldn't go towards this amount. But we exceeded it, and which lowered this year's agreement to only $21,000, which is huge. We secured another additional $10,000 of grant funding through the Ready, Set, Go grant. We use that to purchase equipment and PPE. This is a dozer blade that we can attach to our skid steer. That was purchased with this grant, and that'll be utilized to help improve access and egress. And then one of our crew members, Josh, he was able to promote and go through the fire academy. So now we have another full-time firefighter. So one of my most proud moments of the season was when a fire ignited off of Mike Weir Drive. There was a car fire, and thankfully we had done some thinning along Mike Weir, and as you can see, like the fire stayed very minimal. It's not climbing up in the trees because we've limbed those trees. Very minimal fire behavior, slow creeping, which allowed the firefighters to get there and have an easy fire to put out, minimal spread. And right up above this fire, on top of the hill, there's homes. So there's very high potential for this fire to move fast. But thanks to the work we did, it helped prevent that fire from spreading. And then there was numerous occasions, you can see here before and after some of the work that we've done. But on numerous occasions, we helped homeowners, prevent from losing their insurance coverage, prevent insurance cancellations. And then these were some piles down in Ridgewood neighborhood that we were able to burn last February. There was approximately 54 slash piles that we burned out. And then we supported engine staffing and deployment on 5 national wildfire incidents. The biggest one was the Palisades fire last January. And then the Forsyth fire down in St. George, Deer Creek fire, Monroe Canyon, and Garnett fire. And then the fuels crew assisted with multiple brush fires within Draper City, which is a big benefit of having the fuels crew because we can relieve the on-duty crews so they can get back in service and respond to other emergencies. And I'm sure as you guys have seen, we installed the fire danger rating signs. Those are just an effective way that we can aid with prevention and wildfire awareness. And then, we had several opportunities to strengthen partnerships and collaborate with other departments, whatnot on our projects. And we had opportunities to go assist the Forest Service with their pile burns. They came and assisted us with a lot of the pile burns that were done in near Peakview. Something I really want to focus on, especially moving into the following seasons, this season, are community chipper days. We've been able to have chipper days the last 3 or 4 years, but it's been on a pretty small scale. This last year, we coordinated 2 chipper events, and my guesstimate was that there was 90 hours of community participation. Those hours can go towards our cooperative agreement. our tracking, documenting. So those are really helpful in meeting our commitment. But I just want to note kind of what I have here, that chipper events are an effective way to reduce wildfire risk in Draper because they educate the residents while empower them to take an active role in maintaining defensible space, being proactive. And the more that we can get the homeowners on board being proactive, the larger mitigation footprint we can make. Because we can only do so much as a 6-person fuels crew, but when we get the community on board, it's just way more effective. So moving into this season, that's part of the enhancement plan, is to really implement a robust and consistent chipper program. So we were able to obtain another grant for this year of $200,000, which we're utilizing to purchase a chipper and a catch truck, which will be utilized for these chipping days. So yeah, we've identified some areas. My plan is to collaborate with the communications department to send out these notifications, promote the chipper events, and really how we have our new wildland urban interface area be able to target all of those homes that have extreme wildfire threat. And then, yeah, this will just enhance our ability to maintain Firewise USA recognition. The benefit of having this recognition is just that residents, I mean, sometimes there is a financial benefit, but really the biggest recognition is just showing that we're proactive, that we're engaging with the community and everybody's taking part to mitigate the risk of wildfires in that area. So, any questions or comments?
I got a lot of positive feedback about the chipper days in Suncrest. People were very grateful for that.
Yeah, it'll be a great program for us to really be able to enhance this year with our own equipment. Again, Parks has a chipper, but they're utilizing that themselves heavily as they maintain their trail during the summertime. The chipper that Parker used this year was actually borrowed from Forestry Fire State Lands, correct? So we borrowed theirs to not impact that. But this grant that we've been able to secure is going to, again, give that equipment to us to have full-time, and we'll really be able to grow that program and get more community participation in that, making them more aware and having them help us to mitigate that.
Well, I think they're going to be more invested too because of that state law where they're all in that high-risk area and they're losing their insurance. So.
Yep.
So does that work where the resident can trim out their own brush or whatever, and just they bring it to the street and then you just chip it?
Yep.
And does that help them somehow when they're trying to negotiate on their insurance?
Absolutely,
they would mitigate it in this way?
Absolutely does. The goal, I mean, again, as you just mentioned, there's the high risk WE map that got published in December. Those are the homes, and there are some. There's not a significant amount in the city that fall within that. Those are the ones that will have to be required to have the assessment and a potential fee on those. And then they will be able to, again, based on that assessment, do mitigation efforts to help reduce what that fee is. Our goal is to be way ahead of the curve, not only in those areas, but in that whole area that's designated as our WUI area to help people understand what things they can do on their own property, because that is their responsibility. We'll come in and we'll help give them the pointers of the areas they can mitigate, and then obviously be able to do some shipping for them and be able to use that mulch and put it back down on their ground for their own sustainability.
Do you know who's doing that assessment?
Right now, that HB 48 that was passed last year pushes that responsibility to the counties. Okay. So it's up to the county to coordinate who's going to do that. At this point, we have not heard from them what their plan is to actually get those folks out and trained in order to do that. In the meantime, we're not going to obviously take that responsibility on to do it for them, but we will have our people trained to be able to do that same assessment and again be ahead of the curve so that by the time somebody does get to them to do that, hopefully we've already walked them through a mitigation pathway and they're in good shape moving into that.
That's great.
Yep.
Parker, that would be great to communicate because we've had a lot of concerns.
Yeah, we're scheduling that open house.
Yeah.
To talk about those things.
Yeah. Do you think the county's going to push that responsibility onto you?
Well, they will try. They will try, but again, it's a significant cost, right? To be able to do that. And so as Mike and I have talked, our goal is to focus on our residents, do what we can to help our residents, but not take that responsibility on ourselves without any funding or something that helps us meet that, because it does come at a cost.
Did the county get funding?
No.
Does the county have personnel?
No.
No.
Oh. Oh.
You can see where this is headed.
I see a problem.
Yeah.
So speaking of the county, the golf course is in the WUI map, and what kind of relationship do you have with the county? Are you guys in charge of that land? Are they supposed to, or is it?
Because it's county land, it will be their responsibility. We'll have to obviously work with them in any city property that abuts up to that, and work on a plan that's with them and cohesive. They're, depending on where HB 41 finishes up in this legislative session, there may be a few changes to that WUI map based on some language that's in there. What 41 contemplates is that our WUI map can't include anything that's not on the smooth scoring structure of a 5 or higher in risk. Right now, basically that line between 4 and 5 is right through the middle of the golf course. So we'll have to work with Forestry, Fire, and State Lands, depending on how HB 41 finishes up, and either get them to agree that it should be moved down to where we currently have it, or if we have to maybe pull that back a little bit based on that language. But that being said, it's still going to be surrounded by area that's in that 5 score, and we will definitely have to work with them to do a mitigation plan for that area.
Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Awesome. Close. All right, we need a motion for a closed meeting. Real estate acquisition or
No, litigation development.
litigation. Is there a motion to close?
So moved.
Motion by Bryn,
Second.
second by Tasha. Bryn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Tasha?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
All right, we have a unanimous vote 4-0 to close the meeting. All right, welcome to our city council meeting this evening. Sorry we're a little bit late. But we're ready to get underway. I call the meeting to order. Our first order of business is our normal Pledge of Allegiance by our Parks and Rec Director, Red Ogden. Go ahead, sir.
Everybody, please rise. Repeat Pledge of Allegiance after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rhett. Our next item is an opportunity for general public comment. And it looks like we have, if you're here we have one public hearing, which is 5A. It's ordinance 1706 and 1707. Is there anybody here for that particular ordinance? All right, looks like I have 2 comments for public comment. And I'll just go over our rules with you really quick. You can see the clock to my right. Our rules are when you come up to the podium, I'll call your name, and you can make your public comment. Give us your name and address, if you would. That'll start the timer. It has an obnoxious buzzer. You can take the whole time if you need to, but when your time's up, it'll be up. We're fair. We cut everyone off at 3 minutes, so that's how we work. It's also an opportunity to make a comment to the council, not necessarily a question and answer period. Council might address your concerns later when they talk amongst themselves, but we're here to listen. So I'm going to start with Mike Lund. Mike, come on up. Give us your name and address.
Mike Lund, 652 Webb Circle. Just coming to ask for some help. I live next to Galena Park. My property borders the south property line along the park, about most of it. I have 2 acres there. I've lived there for 22 years, and I fought this for 20 years. And I've asked people, I mean, they have planes and stuff, but the rocket launchers are more of a severe problem. I have horses, and this landed right where I feed them every morning. And I found this Sunday. And I've talked to the policemen over the years. I've gone and talked to people, and I get varied responses of F you to we'll move, we'll go someplace else. And I've talked to the policemen, they say we can't enforce stopping them because there's no ordinance, it's not posted or anything else. Now I know from my own personal experience there's places in the valley where you can do rockets and planes and all that kind of stuff. But I would just, hopefully you guys can help me out because I found these on the roof of my barn, I found them on top of my trailer, I found them on my property probably in the 20 years, probably 40, 50 times. And I don't want to have interactions with people in the park and have it turn out bad. The police are held because there's no law. But this is dangerous because this tip, usually they have a parachute. This one didn't have one, and this tip is weighted with clay or something hard. So if that hit a car, which I have back there, or one of my horses, it's not going to be a good thing. So if you guys can talk about it and see if we can do something about that would be really helpful. So, any questions?
Thank you.
Huh?
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
All right, next I have Michelle Polish. Did I say that right?
Okay, my name is Michelle Polish. I live at 122249 South Placer Street here in Draper. And I want you to know that I don't know if you already voted on it, but I just really kind of want to make a comment and then ask you for support of something, but I'm going to say it because of how much I love Draper. So the organization I work with, Americans for Prosperity, we're doing a huge America 250 event. It is absolutely 100% not a political event. We want it to be fun, engaging, family-oriented. And we had gotten the Sandy Amphitheater, the okay that we had. We were bringing in a big country singer, lots of entertainment. And I said, no way, we have to have it at Draper Amphitheater if we do. It's so much better. We want to do a drone show. And this would be free. We would pay for everything, all cost incurred. So our city would reap the benefits of that, and I wanted it so bad. So I know that you guys have to vote on it and review the agenda. So if you have any questions, I know Kevin Green, our state director, has sent the agenda for you guys. And if you have any questions, but I don't want Sandy to get it. I want Draper to get it. So if you guys can review that, and if you have any questions about that, definitely, or suggestions, I would love to bring the business here. And that's all.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a general public comment? I know it seems a little crazy that no one else is in the room, but I'm asking for the record. All right. Unless you, young lady, would you like to come up? Are you dying to make a comment? Okay. All right. Don't say you didn't have your chance. When you're 18, you can say, I could have made a comment in city council meeting. All right. Thank you. All right. We'll close public comment and go item number 4, which is item number 4C is approval of resolution. Is that where I'm at? Yeah. Is that right? Where's my, back? Yeah, sorry. Double-sided printing. I hate it. All right. 4A is approval of the meeting minutes for the February 10th, 2026 City Council retreat. Item 4B is approval of resolution 2612, the resolution certifying authorized individuals to access or transact business with the state Utah Public Treasurer's investment funds and to execute necessary forms in connection with such changes on behalf of Draper City. And item 4C, the final consent item, is approval of resolution 2613, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a vote center agreement between Draper City and Salt Lake County for the 2026 elections.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
All right, I have a motion by Ms. Lowry to improve the consent calendar. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Dowlins. Is there any further discussion? Tasha, how do you vote?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Bryn? Yes. All right, those items are approved unanimously 4-0. That takes us to item number 5, which is our only item for public hearing on the agenda. It's item 5A, public hearing ordinance 1706, 1707, an ordinance amending the official land use map and the official zoning map of Draper City for approximately 0.25 acres to remove the property from both land use map and zoning map. The property is located approximately 16199 south, 3300 east, and is the subject of municipal boundary and line adjustment between Draper City and Highland City, known as the City-Initiated Highland Boundary Adjustment Land Use Map and Zoning Map. We'll have a staff report by Mr. Todd Draper. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This one will be quick. This is, as you mentioned, just related to the boundary adjustment with Highland City that recently went through. We are just looking at this time to remove from our maps the land use category and the zoning from that property. So this is the general area of where that is. And then you can just see the subject property here from the aerial. It is currently in the hillside low residential density land use, and then in the A5 zoning and in the sensitive hillside overlay zone. So we're just looking to remove it from both of those, as it'll be in Highland City. This is an approximate site photo. It's not going to walk all the way out there, so I've got a little arrow to kind of approximate it there for you. The Planning Commission did vote unanimously to forward positive recommendations for both the land use map and the zoning map changes. And if there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Draper? All right, hearing none, thank you, Mr. Draper. This is a public hearing, ordinance 1706 and 1707. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the council on this item? All right, seeing no public comment, I'll close the public comment period, bring it back to the council.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
Motion by Ms. Lowry, go ahead.
Approve ordinances 1706 and 1707.
Motion is to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Bryn. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Tasha, how do you vote?
Yes.
Bryn?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Items approved unanimously 4-0. That takes us to item 6, but if you would like a council manager discussion in between that, I could do a legislative update. So whoever has any items, Bryn, do you have one?
Yeah, I do. I met, the tree committee met this morning, and so we discussed some of the things we talked about at our last council meeting about updating their rules and their duties, and they were very open to that. One of them suggested, adding landscaping, duties and responsibilities to them. So I think that'd be great if we went forward with those changes, and they also would like to maybe meet with me just one-on-one, and maybe Mr. Barker can meet with me or Jen or somebody just to kind of go. I think they want to go through point by point and just see if it's relevant, to what they're doing, if they would like to, do something more like focusing on education, those kinds of things.
Awesome. Anyone else?
I've got something over here. I have something. So Historic Preservation Commission has been working on a historic plaque for the Widowmaker Trail. They've been talking to Salt Lake County to install that plaque on the county property at the flight park, right where the historic trail is. So with that discussion, we have an interlocal agreement with the county. So I wanted to get with you guys, make sure that you're okay with the city signing an agreement with the county. So this is what the plaque will look like. So the agreement would allow the city to install the plaque on the county's flight park property. We would have to maintain it, and we would have to pay for the installation. I do think it'd be a really great plaque to have up there. It's a significant historic event that used to take place in Draper.
I think it's great. If there's
That was one wild party.
it's on the
Yes.
is this going to be on the county piece or on Draper piece?
It'll be in the flight park on the Salt Lake County's park, and that's because that's where it used to take place.
So why are we do they need our approval to put a plaque there if it's their park?
We need Draper's Historic Preservation Commission is doing the plaque, so we need their approval to put the plaque on their property.
And I know I'm biased, but I know there was a lot of work that went into this, so I'm very much supportive of getting this installed because I think it's a great way to remember what the mountain used to be used for.
It appears that Harley Davidson is the winner in the at least 1500cc 6 over the tops. Triumph comes in second, and Honda was lagging. I think it's a good. Are all of you in favor of said plaque?
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
Great, thanks.
All right. Anyone else?
I'd like your legislative update, Mayor.
You want me to do that? Okay. So, overall, from a League of Cities and Towns perspective, I don't know that it's been as bad of a session as typically we expected it would be. That's not to say that the league has not been in serious battle on 4 or 5, well, not 4 or 5, a lot more than 4 or 5, but some very key pieces of legislation that would have certainly disrupted all of our budgets, our elections, our land use. I guess I'll take that back. It was a normal session in every regard. We were able to get most of it. Now, it wasn't a session where land use was the main topic of attack. I think that comes next year when it's not an election year. So you're going to need to be vigilant with our representatives because I think the House for sure backstopped early that there weren't going to be a lot of land use changes, specifically taking away land use authority and preemption. So the main key topics, the homeless shelter one, I'll start with that one. If you haven't followed it, if you have, there was initially a plan about a giant statewide campus. They were going to bring the homeless all together in one spot, put everything, treatment, what have you, all in one particular area. And then that sort of fell apart. There's a new homeless czar coming on after the session ends. And so the way it got postured was that, and the way we have it now is all of the cities that are not shelter cities are going to have a 15% increase in payment requirement, a one-time payment increase. So our fee will go up about, was it $20,000?
Our fee is about $16,000 and change a month currently.
So we'll be around 22 or 3,000.
Not quite that high, but yeah.
Somewhere close. So every city that's a non-shelter city will be paying a 15% one-time bump, and that's going to really go to the shelter cities like West Valley, Midvale, South Salt Lake, and Salt Lake. All of those shelters are flexing right now in the winter that we aren't having, but still flexing. It puts about 400 more beds online, and that was pure state preemption on cities. The current flexing plan was the state came in and said, fire code be damned, everything be damned. This is how many people can fit in a shelter for the winter. So they've been doing it. Those cities, to their credit, and I'm thankful for them and bless them all, they would like to keep their shelters open and continue to house that 400-person group that would otherwise have no place to sleep if we don't do this program. So the one-time hit, the 15%, will go in to help offset the cities like West Valley and all of them that are paying this heavier cost, and all of us don't have shelters in our city. So then we're going to work out the contribution going forward. Now, that money comes directly out of our sales tax. We don't ever see it, so it's taken from us. So it will be a hit to our overall budget a little bit, but it's going to hit everybody equally. It took a while to get to that language. Molly Wheeler, our assistant director, really did a fantastic job for the league. I mean, really, she did a tremendously just fantastic work writing the code over for Representative Elison finally to, in fact, in the committee yesterday, when some questions were asked, he just said, I'd like her to come up and answer these questions. So Molly's really done a good job driving. This wasn't an assignment Molly wanted. I kind of feel bad for helping her get it, but nonetheless, she's excelled at it and done a good job for us. So we're going to pay 15% more, but those shelters are going to stay open all year, and then we're going to work it out when the new homeless director figures out how we're going to do it. And I don't think the campus is necessarily dead. It's just dead this session. It may come back around. So anyway, homelessness, property tax, which was really the big kind of hit that we were all worried about. If you'll remember, it started out with a 5% cap on everybody's tax increase potential. They even there was an iteration that required the voters to vote every single year to approve our budget. So we would run an election every single year at least on our budget. Of course, that wouldn't be costly to us at all. That wouldn't hit our budget. I mean, there was a lot of ideas that were, I don't know how else to say it, dumb, that were proposed in various bills that we're trying to sort of conglomerate into one. And then we have one of our state senators, Dan McKay, who sort of took the lead in the space with it. He started out with a 5% cap, which would have been difficult. John figured out for us that if we had a 5% cap, we would have to raise property tax every single year, and it would take us 10 years to really get to zero. So that died in various discussions. And then it came out that the real problem that cities have is our fund balance is too high. And so the fund balance being high became the focal point of the last couple of weeks. Now, bear in mind, the state of Utah has a really high fund balance, billions of dollars. But what's good for said goose is not the same for the ganders of the cities. And, frankly, the state can be hypocritical all at once because they're the king. So we were really stressed about wanting to take our fund balance down. And then it became not just take the fund balance down, it became take the interest that we earn on the fund balance and take that away from our budget. So instead of putting that $1.8 million a year back into our operational costs, that would get deducted off our property tax collection and punch a $1.8 million hole right into our budget, in addition to everything else, inflation. Now, I had a lot of discussions with the senators I'd know the best, Senator Cullimore, Senator McKay, about how that will be the Utah senator tax increase meeting that we have when we do it. And so we got around to, and then it became a discussion about, and then Senator McKay said to us, well, I need you to blow my body up over this interest thing. My body needs to hear that we don't want the interest to be part of it. And so the league did its call to action, and I'm proud of all of you because every one of you assisted in the blowing up thereof. And it was a fine blowing up, I might add. Senators were taking their texts that they got from you and sending them to Big Dan McKay to read. So there were lots of senators just screenshotting and sending over. And then, of course, that kind of irritated the good senator, and he said, why don't you have to blow us up? And I'm like, well, you told us to. He literally told us to do it, and we did it. So then we negotiated the interest off and came back to a fund balance on a sort of sliding scale. So bigger cities will be in 5 years. So there's a 5-year runway. In 5 years, the bigger cities will have to be at 25% max fund balance. We'll probably end up in the 28% range, but it'll slide along. Littler cities get a higher balance because they have a smaller budget. So it's a 5-year implementation. We don't have to give the money back to the taxpayer. That was one of the other things that they talked about. And so that bill, that's where we're at with the fourth substitute of that bill. I don't know if that bill even passes in the Senate or not. It might not. But we've at least got agreement. We've at least got agreement that that's the tax change. One astute member of the League Policy Committee asked a question at Monday's meeting, so is this really a property tax bill or a fund balance bill? Which was a astute question at the end of the day. And one might wonder, how come the fund balance became such an interesting play? Anybody wondering why that became such an issue? Well, I have a little insight if you're wondering. Perhaps the Bankers Association was interested in seeing some of the fund balances being held in local banks and credit unions, as opposed to where they're held in the PTIF. PTIF pays the higher interest, so we go where the interest is highest. So I've heard through a little birdie that that might have been the motivation. So, you never know where the angle is, but it's always one. But that's where it is now. Thank you for your diligent league call to action, because it makes a huge difference. Next and last is the vote by mail changes. As you know, we have an excellent, I'd like the record to reflect Mimi, we have an excellent vote by mail system. It's one of the best in the whole country. I enjoy it thoroughly. I love driving up to that box and being able to put my ballot in at my leisure and just enjoy voting in my elections. I think most of you would agree. The elections in Utah are secure. The audit showed one potential fraudulent voter, and he or she didn't even vote. But nonetheless, there was a big push, you might imagine, from the national perspective, that vote by mail is really not great. But to get rid of vote by mail would be very expensive for the state, because they would have to buy a lot of voting machines, because we're hooked on the crack of vote by mail because it's cheap. Now you're looking for higher expensive drugs of more voting machines, so there's this balance. So in an effort to weasel us off of vote by mail but not have to buy all the new machines, they came up with this program of put 2 nice poll watchers at every box during the election period, out there with their umbrellas or just sunscreen, whichever, depending on the year, and that when you pull up to drop your ballot in the box, you would show these nice poll workers your driver's license, and they would fill out a sheet and check you off of the list. Seems like a logical thing to do, right? It's really taking away vote by mail, but not really. So the cheaper way to eliminate vote by mail.
But who would pay? I mean, is there money to
excellent
pay
question.
those?
That would be coming from the cities. We would be paying for the poll workers. They were going to add more boxes so we could buy more poll workers to make more points to drop off the ballots to get your. And actually, at one point, a driver's license was not a sufficient form of ID. It was a passport that would be required, or a birth certificate at one of the earlier iterations. Look, I'm not kidding you. Well, it's all about the voter participation, Ms. Lowry.
We want certain people to vote.
Anyway, I was on my way up there today to give my 2 cents on that, and they called me off and said, we don't think you need to come. And then Justin texted me, it died in the Senate committee. It is dead. It is not mostly dead, like Princess Bride. It is all the way dead. So that one's over for this year. So you'll be able to vote normally. There you go. And then there was a bill, there was another bill that wanted to make municipal elections partisan. I did testify in that one. It was interesting to listen to your point. The argument was, if we make it partisan, we'll get more voter participation. And I was thinking to myself, I don't even know how that pencils. But if you had an R or a D or an I or a U, what's the party your husband's in? An F.
Which might not be a good
yes.
letter to have next to your name.
If you had any of those letters by your name, it would make it a whole much better process. It would be more transparent. Everybody would know it, love it, and it would achieve the great success of a democracy that we have yet achieved in our 250 years. So that was the push. I testified against it. A couple other people did, and it died 7-3 in the committee. So we're not doing partisan. And it was interesting to see some of the committee members said that they were getting texts from their constituents saying, vote against this. And I thought, well, that's good. People were reaching out. And then there was a bill by Representative Schallenberger as well to designate the Corner Canyon, or the Point of the Mountain Flight Park, as an airport, some type of official airport. I opposed that on our behalf because of our city, the Point. Lehigh and Clyde companies also opposed it, but it was really an effort to create an airport overlay that would have restricted that big building that burned down, the big apartment building that burned down last summer. The hang gliders don't like that building because it disrupts the flow of currents and causes people to crash or whatever. So this bill was really an attempt to create this federal airport overlay, or a state combined federal airport overlay to really restrict what could go around the Point of the Mountain. That bill died as well. It died relatively hard. So I don't know what will happen next, but
Mr. Mayor, is there a possibility, though, that there could be some type of regulation that could set a zoning that would limit the building height around there?
Certainly, the issue is that the building that burned down is getting rebuilt. It's already entitled, so it's going to go to its normal height. It was an interesting discussion. I went to the committee. It came out of the committee. It died after the committee. It never got to the floor. It might have died in the speaker's office, but it died along the way because it was, I mean, I told the representative, look, if you want to protect the flight park, I don't think there's a lot of people that are opposed to that. I'm not opposed to it, but let's just protect it in a direct way with a zone that says this is what it is, so everybody knows and can come to the table. This was vague and would have created sort of esoteric rules about, no one really knew what it meant. So anyway, we may see that back in the future.
Well, it doesn't really make sense because if that building was already entitled, how was it going to go backwards?
Well, since it burned down, it was then again a clean slate was the term used. Cleaned off by the fire, I guess.
That doesn't make sense, but the area would still be...
Right, but the representations were that it was now a clean slate, and the actual was an incorrect representation. Yeah. So anyway, I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I wanted to bring up. Oh, transportation bill. Calvin, our representative, did an excellent job with his housing infrastructure sort of TIF bill. He's created, in some ways, he's sunsetted a number of these FIZs, HOPs, and all these different weird acronyms. I can't remember them all. But his bill sort of sunsetted a bunch of them and created a program where you can apply for a loan, for a low-interest loan, to get infrastructure in your city to create housing. So it's all for-sale housing. So like take, for example, Olympia Hills in Harriman. There's potentially 6,000 units there. The thing that's holding them up is a water tank and some roads and sewer and all the expensive stuff. So Calvin passed a bill, to his credit, difficult, hard one, that creates a pathway forward for low-cost infrastructure improvements that could open up housing. He did a fantastic job on that. He also integrated something unique, that the UTA re-governance bill. I think it's been folded into a different bill now. So UTA is going to get restructured where the 3 trustees from the 3 counties are going to be eliminated. It'll go to a 7-member commission similar to the Transportation Commission, and then it'll have a general manager. So the 7 commissioners will be the governing board, and the current general manager, or the general manager, whoever it is, will run UTA. The good news about that is in Calvin's bill, he worked with Senator Harper to create another pot of money in the TTIF. I might be getting it wrong, but the TTIF, where this pot of money will grow, and it will actually be, it's one of the first times in my career working with UTA or in politics where there's a fund now the state's going to have build up over time that can build new transit, which is fantastic. It's what we need. The Senate president, we met with him, and he was like, look, I want to see faster trains. I want to train faster than 80 miles an hour. Frontrunner needs to be going 130 miles an hour. And he said in his office, we're not building another highway across the point of the mountain. We're not widening it. We're not making it bigger. We got to go to transit. And so that's the motivation of the Speaker and the Senate president to create the new UTA structure. That bill hasn't gone passed yet, but it's one of the issues is there's a restriction on the 7-member commission. Although it's not a paid commission, it's similar to what it was in the old days. You get a stipend and go, mileage or whatever. It's not a paid job. But those 7 members are not allowed to be elected officials under the current legislation. The league has suggested that not that they be 100% guaranteed local elected officials, but the league has suggested it would be good if there was the option of one of either the governor or the Senate or the House could appoint local elected officials that are would be part of could be on that commission, don't have to be, but could be. The local or the elected official prohibition was a prohibition to prevent legislators from being on the commission. But we've made the pitch that if you want local people or you want to open up the talent pool to people that might maybe have someone really talented that's an elected person that could do it, this would be a way to do it. So I don't know how that's going to come out. But I think we'll see. I mean, it's all getting dicey now because there's only 3 days left. And there was a big to-do yesterday at the House or at the Senate. There was a Senate committee on the gas tax bill, the lowering of the gas tax. As you know, we have gas tax proposal that will lower our gasoline tax about 4 cents a gallon for a period of 6 months, 180 days. But the speaker agreed to hold us harmless as cities, so that, because, we get B&C road money out of gas tax, so, the very gasoline you're buying to drive on the very roads upon which you're using the tax to fix, they agreed, we'll hold the cities harmless. We'll make sure that you don't lose B&C road money. So the 4 cents gets pulled out of some other UDOT operational fund so that it gets funneled back to the taxpayer at that 4 cents a gallon. So do it while you can. But yesterday, in a Senate committee, chairman of the committee and sponsor in the Senate, Brady Brammer, had a committee of 3, himself, Senator Fillmore, and Senator McKay. And he called the motion, and Senator Fillmore and McKay voted no, and the gas tax bill died in the Senate committee. That created a substantial amount of dust up, as I was told. I wasn't privy to the actual dusting, but I heard there was a lot of dusting that occurred with some discussion amongst the Senate and the House. And that's created a bit of a logjam. Apparently today they weren't reading Senate bills into the House. So I think there is some nefariousness afoot. I don't know
Less is more.
how it all goes. But, there's some, there's been press conferences and whatnot about it. And so I think it comes back. I think they'll find a way to bring it back because it's a big to-do. We almost went to war with Idaho over it.
Well, now we're just at war with the Middle East. So.
Indeed. Yeah, it is interesting that the 4 cents a gallon is going to be thoroughly and completely wiped out by the Operation Epic Fury that is going to raise gas probably to $1 more. Anyway, I think that's everything. Is there anything else, Mike, you can think of?
Just the alcohol bill.
Oh, I was unaware.
Yeah, so the alcohol bill will allow cities to consider a proximity waiver for restaurants and hotels that may be within 300 feet of libraries, playgrounds, or parks.
Mostly fits the point, I would imagine.
Yeah, and actually the point was designated as a local, I can't remember what the term is, but basically you've got it wouldn't apply to churches and schools, and so there may be a pathway forward for cities to consider, under certain circumstances, waiving those proximity requirements.
On the point bill, we got Senator Stevenson to adjust the code so that the point only takes 25% of the property tax value. We'll get the other 75%. And then I think they took our other changes on the development agreement. So the point bill turned out how we need it. So that's moving forward. I really think that's about it.
I have one other quick question about these rockets in the parks. Galena Park is a county park, correct?
No, I don't think so.
So it's city.
The flight park.
Is that an ordinance that we want to even look at?
It's already in our ordinance. They're already illegal. We've already kicked many of them out of that park.
So then where is it being stated that the police can't enforce that?
I don't know.
I'm sure it's hard to catch.
Yeah, you'd have to catch
It'd
somebody
be difficult
in the
to
act.
enforce. But it is in our ordinance that rockets are not allowed in any of the parks.
I don't think it specifically says rockets, but it does say explosives, which we've classified that as. And when people ask, we tell them no, they're not allowed.
Maybe we should clarify it.
Maybe we should put a sign up adjacent to his property.
We can do that.
I mean, a rocket's technically an explosion, but a controlled explosion. Not necessarily a complete explosion, but a more funneled.
At least if you signed that area of Galena, maybe you could push them farther away so they'd be less likely to go through this course faster.
I just don't want him to feel it was totally ignored, his comment.
No, can you reach out to him and say they are illegal, it is in our code, you can't call the police for enforcement, but we will also add signage to that.
Sure.
Let's make sure it is in our code clearly. It may not be. I don't know.
It doesn't say rockets.
Are you all amicable to create one that says no rockets? All right. And then the the other question was about the amphitheater. We rented the amphitheater once, if I remember, and it caused some grief for us, and we stopped until we were ready to get a policy. Now, I don't know if I'm remembering that correctly or not, but I think whatever you want to do on the amphitheater, we typically don't rent it out. It's not something we do for a whole lot of reasons, mainly that we just haven't done it. We don't have a policy for renting it. We probably need to put together, if you want to, a policy about how we would rent it and make sure we recover the actual cost of renting it. One of the problems for us is those costs are always more because of police and fire that have to respond depending on what it is. We never really, I don't think we have a mechanism in place to make sure we recover the actual cost of the rental. But it's not something we've done. We don't rent. We stopped renting it because we wanted to get it figured out. We haven't had a request until now to do it, but we don't have a firm policy. It'd be my hope that we would do one of those before we make a decision on it, decide if we want to rent it. The easy policy is don't rent it. The next harder policy is how much it costs and how we rent it out. Where are you all at on that? And I think the other thing you have to keep in mind, if you rent it, you have to rent it. You can't discriminate against content and message of who might rent it. You might like a group that rents it, but you might not like the next group that wants to. But you'll be in that situation. If you are renting it, you got to be fair and can't control the message or content of the message.
Yeah, that's a concern that I have.
I also have a concern that it could open the door to it just being used all the time, and I'm not sure that it's actually, it's in a neighborhood. So I think, for smaller events, sure, but when you have these big events, if they were to happen more frequently, it would turn that area into an event center rather than just being used for an occasional production like over the summer, if that makes sense.
I think the city can do whatever event it wants, but the question is can it be rented for any group to use for whatever reason they want to use it? I think this request we had today is obviously a great, it's America 250, how do you beat the request? But the policy for us is, are we renting it? If we are, how are we going to do it? And that does open it up to...
But can the city go in conjunction with a group to do an event like that?
We could, yeah.
But then I think the question is...
A city event?
Yeah.
We can always do
like
a city
that.
event.
Yeah, and then if we have an outside group that would help us put it on, sponsored by the city, that's why we're not renting it out.
But
Similar
then-
to like
but
you
then
do the
are-
rodeo, we hire a contractor to do the rodeo.
But then the city's paying for it. They're talking about doing an event that they would be paying for.
Yeah,
So
we'd have to
if
sell
it was-
tickets and do all...
Yeah, I was going to say you're paying overtime for police and fire and other services if you're going to do it that way.
I also think that, again, opens a can of worms of who do we partner with. If we partner with one organization, then, what are the parameters behind that, which we don't have.
I think I am not opposed to us renting it out. I agree with what you're saying, that we would need to have some sort of a policy, and I appreciate what Bryn's saying. It is in the neighborhood, and so if we do create a policy, I think it should include a limit of, how often there could be an event, or it could be rented out.
And remember, it is already very used, right? I mean, Rhett's already using it for a bunch of shows and.
I don't know, maybe you could get with Rhett with your acts. We can see if there could be the city could be the one putting it on. That's probably in the short term the most likely. And then at the same time, we can decide formally how we want to do it. But I don't think we should rent it at all without a policy and a clear amount and an amount that recovers our costs. It's a small place. It is in the neighborhood. And I think the neighbors are accustomed to the number of shows we do because it's about the same. If it was a lot more, I think we'd hear from the neighbors. That's what I think. But anything else? Anybody else have anything else? All right, is there a motion to adjourn? All right, motion by Tasha to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Brent. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, hearing none, we are adjourned.